Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Nedarim daf Mem Gimel. We are going to begin on the bottom of Mem Beis Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. Masnisan Hamudar Hana Mechavero. If a person made a neder against his friend, Lo Yashilenu V'Lo Yishol Mimenu, he can't borrow or lend. Lo Yalvenu V'Lo Yolve, he can't be a lender or borrower of money. He can't buy and he can't sell. Now this is a shtickle difficult to understand because l'charo we can understand if I can't get enough from you, so then I can understand if I can't get enough from you, so then I can't borrow things from you. But why can't I lend things to you? What's the difference? I'm not getting enough from you by giving you something. You're getting enough from me. So what's the problem? I can understand one way. It's a one-way street. It's not both ways. So what's the whole issue? As we continue to Mem Gimel Manav, the Gemara discusses this. Now, Bishlam Venu to come anyway. I can understand not to borrow because you're borrowing something from someone. I need to borrow this pen, so thank you. So now I'm getting hana. However, I'm lending you something. I'm not benefiting from it. So my come anyway. It doesn't make any sense. What's the whole issue over here? Why can't you lend someone something? So you're getting hana from. It's the same question. It doesn't make any sense. It should only be one way of I can't borrow from you, but I can lend to you. So Gemara gives two answers. You're right. In a situation where it's only me making the neder against you, I cannot get enough from you. So I can't get enough from you, fine. So I can't borrow from you, but I can lend to you. However, in this situation, I said I'm not getting enough from you, and you said the same thing about me, that you're not getting enough from me. So since both of us are the ones who are making the neder, so therefore that's the reason why we can't borrow. Because in essence, it's really I can't borrow from you and you can't borrow from me. But it uses the language, don't borrow and don't lend out. We just don't want them to be involved in any business transactions or lending things out. Because if you start lending something to someone, tomorrow you're going to end up borrowing from them something else. And that's where the problem is. So therefore, we cut off all ties. We don't want you to have anything to do with each other as far as business transactions or lending or borrowing, etc. Okay, so it seems pretty straightforward, but look at this lengthy Ron. We'll see just pieces of it. Nirali, Damash Moledamas Nisan, our Mishnah Chayra is talking about Bezvina Charifa, which we saw before, which is a high demand, which means it's a situation where it's Hanas Lokeach, where the buyer is the one who's getting more benefit. So, because the question is, why can't I buy something from you? It's just I'm giving you money and you're giving me this item. It's an even exchange. It must be some of Zvina Charifa, that actually the Lekeach, the one who is buying is getting a better deal because it's a high demand product. Mishum hachi mashmele lehachi. V'omukmil bezvina derafi leape. Not a situation where it's zvina derafi leape, which you said before, is a low demand, which is hanas moicher. V'lefrach ivcha. You can ask the other way around. Inami bezvina mitziaser can be a average transaction, not a high demand, not a low demand. There will be no question. Skipping a line. So a whole shaila is talking about a zvina charifa, skipping a whole bunch of lines to the next round. So we talked about this before, not too long ago. The situation person says, "She'ein neheneli Yisrael leikech biyaser." So when it came to the situation, which we ended up saying was like a negotiation of 5 and 3, they meet somewhere in the middle. Whenever there is a good deal, so we said over there, there is no gzera. Okay, let's hold off on that Ron. So let's look at question 3, which is straight Ron. You'll have to sell an object. So it depends. If it's bezvina, so am I allowed to sell something to you, even if there's an isser hana? So it depends. Bezvina the rapi alape, o bezvina mitziasa. in which it's hanas moicher, so that's aser. Zvina charifa, if it's something which is a zvina charifa, so we see over here, it's a machlokas, whether we hold that we're geyser atu shikach, gezeir in gozru atu shikach memenu. So when it comes to, again, a situation where it's hanas moicher, then in that situation, the moicher is not allowed to sell it. However, if it's a zvina charifa, in which it's really hanas lekeach, so why maybe he should be able to sell it because he's not getting hana, it's the lekeach getting hana, or perhaps in that situation we're also geyser. Okay, let's see the next Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, a lengthy Mishnah, Masnisan, Oimerlo, a person says, Hashileni paroscha, I want to be able to borrow your cow. Omerlo, unfortunately, he doesn't say yes. Instead, he says, "Ena penuya." It's not available. Penuya. Interesting enough, the word penuya, panu means free. Also refers to a woman who is able to get married. It's a penuya. So it's not a penuya. It's not free. It's not available. So Omer, she got upset that this person made this statement. It says the Ran mitoich kas shekasalav. He said, okay, you didn't let me borrow. I'm not, this field is going to be usher to plow with this cow forever. So it depends. And let's say this guy used to plow himself. In that situation, who usher? He's only saying that he cannot use this cow anymore. The whole other mutar. However, anyone else, it's mutar. It says the Rashi, since he's the one who also plows, it's talking about him plowing. However, if it's a situation where he doesn't do the plowing, so he didn't just have himself in mind, he had anyone in mind that this field can no longer have this cow. Let's say again, a person makes hana, an isser hana against his friend. And nebuch, this person has no food. So what do? You want to be able to help this guy out. So you go to a store and each point in hana. This person made an isser hana. I don't know what to do. So who nice and low. So he can give him. The store owner can give to this person, even though you're not allowed to give to him directly. Then you can go and pay the storekeeper, the grocer yourself. So it's a great chiddush. Says the Ran, even if it's someone who you constantly come by, and therefore you would think he's your shliach. So in this the Ran says, we do not say he's your shliach, and therefore the din is that you could do this, and the storekeeper can take your hint and he can give him food, and then in turn you can give him food, give him money for what he gave him. Similarly, Hayabesu live nice, Gedeonoi Ligdor, Sadei Lixor. You have a lot of things that need to be done in your property. You have a house that needs to be built, you have a field that needs to be fenced in, you have a field that needs to be harvested, and you don't have workers. So you go to a bunch of workers, and you don't have money to pay them. Each point, I don't know what to do. They could work for him. He could pay them. So again, we don't say the shlichus kavod. Person's traveling, there's nothing to eat. So you can give it to someone else as a gift. And in this direct way, it's mutter to give him the food. Now, what if there's no one else? It's just me and this other person who I said he cannot get enough from me. So so you can take the food, put it on a rock, on a fence. I mean, there's no one else there. And you say, okay, whoever wants to take this food, he can take. And he takes it, so he can take it. However, Rabbi Yossi says, and we'll see the Gemara why he's not allowed to do so. He cannot put food on a rock and all of a sudden he's allowed to collect it. The question is why not? We'll see. So what's the problem? Why can't he do this? Why can't he put the food on the rock, say it's hefker, and then all of a sudden he can eat this food? So Ksavar must be because he holds hefker kamatana, that making something ownerless has the same status as something being given as a gift. Mamatana. When it comes to a gift, adiyasim rishus naisin rishus mekabel, It's not a gift until you actually take it and physically hand it to someone else. Av hefker adi asur shus zoiche. So it's hefker also until it's given over to this other person's rishus. So therefore, he could always retract at any time. Says the Ran, Shim Omer Hareni Noisin Matana Zula Poini Yochel Achsabo. He could retract Ashigil Yadu Shol Makabel. So he could always do so. So Mesa Rav Abba. Bo Noitav Oichel, Rav Yossi Oiser. So he says that Rav Yossi says you can't put it down on this rock. Now Rav Yossi Emosai, when do I say this din? Bisman Nidr Kaidim Hafgeroi. If first he made the neder, we're saying, I do not want you to derive any benefit from me. And then all of a sudden you put the food down on a rock, make it hefker, which is pretty clear, right? Here it looks like making it hefker is only because of the neder against the food. You're not allowed to eat it because there's an Isser Hana. I said you cannot get Hana from me. So the whole purpose of making it hefker is for that purpose. So maybe Rabbi Yossi holds when you first made the neder and then you're mafker it in that situation. That's why it doesn't work, because it's obvious that it's not really a real making it really ownerless. As we continue Mem Gimel Mabes, let's say it's the other way around. First you put the food on the rock, you made it hefker, and then later on you made a neder, and then he collects it, harizem mutter. So he's allowed in that situation, even Rav Yossi holds it's fine. Now I understand. If you say the whole problem is because you have to wait until it actually gets into this person's rishos, until his hands, so mali nidra kodem hefker, mali hefker kodem nidra. There should not be any distinction between either case. So, who ma'isiv la v'hu mashani la. The truth is, he asks the question and he also answers it. Kol hanoider, anyone who makes a neder, ein daito al ma shehifkir. His das is not on that which he made ownerless. Okay, says the Rashi, el al ma she'adayin b'rshuso. Only the things that are in his rishus, v'adahachi mutter, and that's the reason why it is considered to be mutter, because a person's das is only on that which he could be mafker. Says the Ran, enechanami, the matzi haderbe. You're right. He could always retract and keep it. The ihavi aserle will also davar shehifger. If you want to aser that which is hefker, beferish chayil nidro el hacha hainu tami mishum the whole ice and a chasav stam. If you aser your possessions in daitol ma shehifger. Your das is not on something that you're going to be mafker anyway. So therefore, that's the reason why you don't have that in mind. Meisif Rava, Frak the Gemara, Rava asks a question. Miksasan l'rishain, v'kulan l'sheni. Rishain kaina, sheni loikana. So his das, we'll see in the Ran which this is talking about, and Rashi. Let's start off with Rashi. So what's this talking about? So Shchimira, says Rashi, Shikasa mixas nechasav echad v'shar kulan kasav l'sheni. So what he did was he wrote part of his possessions to one of his kids, and all of his other possessions he wrote to the second child. So Risha and Kaina. So the first one is Kaina, and Sheni is loy Kaina. The second one doesn't. Now v'im amad. Let's say this person who is dying gets sick. He gets healthy rather. Chayzer v'sheni. So he can retract regarding the second kid. But he can't retract for the first. Why? Once he wrote that the first one gets something, a little bit, so he left something over for the second one. The second one he could retract to a shir klum. Because once he said about the second one, there's nothing left for this man. Now, if he's going to die, so he's going to die. So he's willing to do that. However, once he is alive and healthy, misham hachi l'kana, because no living person would give everything away. He is nimlach. He changed his mind by the sheni. But giving mixas to the rishon, giving some to the first one, is kind of, since part one would give away. Fine. V'i amrit loy havi matana ad damati liad makabel. If you want to tell me that it's not a gift until it's actually in his hands, my kind of rishon. Tvei Misheni. Why would the first one be koinet over the second either? It never went to his hands, it shouldn't be good. So therefore, this is approved. Skipping 2 lines. It must be that Rabbi Yochanan does not hold of this svara. So this is the question. He must not hold like this. Okay, so that's how Rashi explains. Let's look at the Ran. So Ran says, you have 2 slaves. The nasan mixas nechasav arishan. You gave some of it to the first one. And then you gave the rest of the second one. Lo kana rishain. So this Girsa says the first one is not kaina. The dilma beguf shir, because maybe he left it over. Since he himself is not kaina, nechasim namu kana. The abda de kan nichsehu. Avol sheni zaycha ba'atzmo. He's zaycha himself. And when nechasim in the possessions of a zacha namu shtabid b'rishain. He's also ends up being shtabid to the first one. Okay, so his das is even on something he gave away to the Rishon. So too, if you have das on it at the time of the neder, it should also work. So what's this matnas beis chayron? So why does Rabbi Yossi aser? The case is like this. He wanted his grandfather to come to a wedding. So he was mafkir his own possessions, so his father could come to the wedding. So then someone was makdish these possessions, and the person said, no, I didn't really have intention to make it hefker. It was clear that there was no one else around, and being mafkir it, that's why I did what I did. It was just so that he could come, but the truth is, I didn't want you to be kind of all of the food at the wedding. I just wanted him to come so that he can get hana. So it wasn't really a sincere hefker. So too when it comes to being mafker on a rock, it's really for the moider to eat. But if you're a mafker at first, then you made a neder, so there's no gezerah, since there's no das for him. So the point is, the reason why Rav Yossi is machalik between when you make a neder first and then you're mafker or vice versa is because if you first made the neder and then you're mafker, it's clear the only reason why you did make this neder, while the only reason we made it hefker is because of the neder, and it's not a real hefker, and therefore someone else could have come and taken this away. You wouldn't have wanted that. So therefore, it doesn't work according to Rav Yossi in this situation because of this gezerah. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see a whole bunch of questions. Question 4. Where do we see the hanoider stama? If a person makes a neder stam, how do we see daitu nami alma shehifker? That his das is also on something which he made hefker, something which basically he's saying is not his. So he said, in the case of the shchimira, that noisin nixas nachasim rishon, you gave some of your money to the first, the kul nasheni, everything else to the second. We say kana nasheni hakol. So the Ran said that the second one is kind of everything. Ve'im ein daitu al mashehifker. So if your das is not on what you were mafker already, hachanami ein daitu al mashekfar nasan. Your das shouldn't be on what you already gave. V'gam etzel sheni havli matnas b'mixas. A matana b'mixas. So therefore it should also be considered a matana b'mixas, and therefore it shouldn't work. Okay. Question 5. Hamoder hana mechaver ve'enu ma yoichel maniach al sela Rav Yossi oiser be'ez oifen gam Rav Yossi matir mahatam. So b'kaidim hafkiru and nidroi. First you made it hefker, then you made the neder. The time Rav Yossi misham matnas beis chayron. The whole issue is because of matnas beis chayron by inviting this person. There's no need to make a gzer in this situation, because certainly in this situation you weren't mafgrit because of the neder. You were mafgrit first, so therefore that's the reason why it's not a problem. Question TA18. Hamoider hanama chaveroi v'yomer hari haim mufkarim l'choil. Let's have everyone Rav Yossi oiser. Gemara oim Rav Yochanan Ksavar Rav Yochanan Hefker Ad Yasser Shosoich has to be in your hands. Be'ez oif Rav Yosi Mater Madua. So again, as we said, b'mafkir kaidim l'nidroi. If you're mafkir first, mishum dekol ha'neider. Anyone who makes a neder, since you were mafkir before the neder, since afterwards now you made the neder, in daitol ma shehifker. Your das is not on that which you already made hefker from before. You didn't have that as part of the cheshbon, and therefore since you first were mafker the item, so therefore now that you made a neder, the neder is not on the item that you were mafker. Okay, that's TA 18. TB 19. Matam shav Yosef asul hafkir mozain v'yitel hamoidim and a hefker beis tamim b'gemara. So that's what I wrote. Soifo mechiach es tchilasai. Like beis chayron, he did it only for this person, so it was a trick and not sincere. Sudasu mechiach alav. We'll see this tomorrow's daf. Adkan.